get it sorted.
Yeah, that's true. Challenge over the summer is absolutely to get my Zoom working as it never was before. That's the correct phrase. Okay, so we are at our last session before the summer. Sounds funny saying before the summer with 34 degrees heat, or whatever it is. Nevertheless, where we're up to now. We haven't managed to finish a unit this term. Well, no, sorry, let me speak English. We haven't managed to finish the term finishing a unit. Better way of saying it. Meaning we'll have to carry on a little bit next term, this unit at least, although we'll probably do a couple of pre-Rosh Hashanah pieces. Please God. Dare I say, I'm not a prophet, but dare I say, come September, the weather may be a bit different.
It may be.
Indeed.
And if it's not, then we're really in for trouble. Right, okay. I trust everyone's had a good week from Hendon, from Edgware, from Bournemouth and beyond. Those who are inside, outside, kitchen. I can't work out here. Dining room. Is it the back of the dining room? No. Kitchen.
Yeah, it's kind of all kitchen, dining room, living room.
And Robert is clearly not in any room. Unless you've got
That's all we. The kitchen area is that way, the lounge area is that way. This is the dining room.
The Switzerland of the house. Neutral territory.
Open plan.
Right, okay. And Robert's in the sukkah.
Is it exactly where the sukkah goes?
It's a bit previous though, isn't it?
But it's never this hot.
Absolutely.
I saw the most brilliant advert, actually. I'm on Fine has been called. I'm actually going to read it to you. It's so brilliant. So I'm on a group called the Har Nof Rentals Group. Clearly very prestigious. For those who are looking to rent anywhere in Har Nof. So listen to this absolutely brilliant advert. You ready for this? And this is a religious neighborhood in Jerusalem. They clearly have no idea about the following. You ready? Sukkah's house swap in Manchester. Looking for a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment in Har Nof for Yom Kippur and Sukkot in exchange for a very spacious house in Manchester, UK, including 2 Sukkot, 1 indoor, 1 upstairs for sleeping, and a huge garden with a hot tub. Possible option for a car swap also. Now I'm thinking to myself, poor these Jerusalem women who are reading this group. Never. Yes, I can hear garden, hot tub, and 2 Sukkot. They have no idea that it's Manchester. There's no chance they're going to be in them. No chance. Why in the world is a hot tub in the garden useful in October time?
September in Manchester. No,
absolutely.
No dissing Manchester. No dissing Manchester.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you're not going to use it.
No. Oh, there's Gideon's on the move again.
Hi, Gideon.
Gideon, welcome. Our first ever joiner from the airport.
From the airport, that's right, yes.
Oh,
unbelievable. Which airport?
Heathrow Terminal 5.
That's absolutely brilliant. I'm going to take a picture of this and remember. Heathrow Terminal 5?
Yeah.
5.
It's the British Airways.
He's got to
terminal.
South Africa.
So that's
Yeah.
Right, the place with no vowels, as my friend calls it. Rebbe, how are you? No vowels. Right, okay, so let's go. Gideon, a big shkoyach for being in an air conditioning building, enjoying the shed. Unlike us sweating it, but amazing, unbelievable. Okay, let's go. So, yalla. I need someone to put my note paper here, which it was no longer here. We're out. Okay, fine. We're going to share the screen, and then let's get on with it. Okay, yeah. How do I share my screen here? Let's share a tab. Do you remember we were talking about keys to growth? Here we are. Thank you. Right, let's go. So we talked about being good. Everyone see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Let's come up.
We talked about just about. Should I make it bigger?
No, it's fine. It took a while to get there, but it's fine.
Oh, sorry. We talked about being good, or seeing yourself as good. We talked about, well, actually, we're not to this yet. We talked about the Rambam's point about consistency. I think it confused people in the comparisons, but now that's the point was about consistency. We've got 2 other sources here. which are actually not connected, but I think they're both very powerful. The first is as follows, from a book, an amazing book actually called the Chovas HaTalmidim. Chovas HaTalmidim is like this. It is a book written by a Hasidic Rebbe, Piacenza, about 80 years ago or so, 90 years ago. Excuse me. And it is a very uplifting Musa book. Now you may be thinking, uplifting Musa book. That's like saying an exciting book about tax. It is an uplifting Musa book because it's not one of these, you must do this, shouting at you for this. It actually starts with building a person up and then kind of working. But it starts with building their self-esteem and their self-conceit and their etc. Kind of building them up instead of pushing them down. Anyway, Gam b'chol yom, says the Chovas Talmidim, Gam b'chol yom, so b'chol hayom, thank you. Every single day or all day, tizkar es tachlischa matarascha. It's very easy to say, which is every day remember your purpose and goal. I'm talking about keys to growth. Once you realize you're good, you can achieve it and need to be consistent. There's a case of every day remember your goal. I had a bit of a funny moment at sea. I'll admit this on camera, I don't mind, where Rabbi Hammond came up to you and said, do you know, where exactly are we up to in our 5-year plan? Yeah, so I was going to be cheeky and I was going to say year 3, Rabbi. And he didn't mean what year. He meant like, where are we up to in terms of developing organization, whatever, right? He said, it's a really good question, Rabbi. I have to say, I haven't looked at it for about a year. So he said, in which case it's not a plan. It was not a plan because you're not actually being guided by it. I said, you're right. I'm going to look at it now. So that's what I did. The Chovas Talmidim's point is very simple. You've got to remember your goals and purpose because we get lost in daily life and daily grind, and we lost the survival mode and urgent as opposed to important mode. And often it's therefore not our goals that are guiding us, it's everything else that's pushing in the way. That is a problem. I don't think it's a profound point. I think it's just a point that needs to be remembered. Every day, remember your purpose, your goal, remember what you're trying to achieve, and then hopefully it will seep through every now and again as well. But that is point number 3. Great. Point number 4, excuse me, in terms of, where that came from. It's been a long term. Point number 4 in terms of the building blocks in terms of reaching potential and growth is like this. It's a beautiful piece of Maharal. It's actually in an introduction to a book he's got called Ber HaGola. I'll just give you the biographical sketch over here. Ber HaGola is basically the Maharal's book defending the rabbis. Meaning, it sounded like in his day, we're talking the 1600s or so, 1500s, 1600s, there were people who were constantly criticizing the rabbis and criticizing the role of the rabbis, both in interpreting and in terms of ruling and in terms of...
We don't know what they're talking about.
Pardon?
We don't know what they're talking about.
That's what was once said. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. It didn't, yeah, anyway. So, you've already got a tan, it's fantastic. So the Maharal basically wrote a whole book defending the rabbis, not Rabbi X, Rabbi Y, just generally the role of the rabbis. And it's very, very important. They've actually translated it into English many years ago. I find a lot of misconceptions in this area as well. What is the role of the rabbis? Where do they get license to rule from? Let's say license to kill, license to rule from. Where does all that rabbinic input come from, and what is their role? Yeah, so he does all of that. He also segues very beautifully into some rabbinic understandings of passages in the Gemara, which has covered a few beautiful pieces. Comment things which seem either apocryphal or exaggerations, and Maharal kind of explains what it really is. So, for example, you might be familiar with the Gemara Moed Katan that says that Paro was 1 amma tall, and amma is just over half a meter. So when you think of the grand and great Paro in Mitzrayim, of Pesach fame, don't really think of this little what do you call it, garden gnome type character. Yeah, but the Gemara says that's Artorios. The Maharal explains what that means. There's a real height, there's a spiritual height, etc. But he goes into all of them. Now, in his introduction to Ber HaGola, everyone still hear me?
Yeah.
Just check it. Thank you. In his introduction to Ber HaGola, the Maharal says as follows: "B'masha shleimus ha'adam b'idiyas v'asagas ha'nimtzayim." given that perfection, I haven't translated this part, given that perfection is about understanding and grasping those who are around you, or maybe hearts or aims or goals, the first thing you have to know is ladas lahasek mahus atzman. You have to first understand who you are. Yeah? You can't be blind to your self-knowledge. Right? We're very good at this in England. Very, very good at this. You know, saying to yourself, well, you know, when someone compliments you and says you did a good job, we're very good at deflecting. But it wasn't me, kind of this English humility. No, it wasn't me, whatever. It's someone else, something else, etc. Right? There's nothing wrong, as long as you know what you're doing with it, with giving yourself a little bit of credit for your achievements, as long as you know where you're directing that. But more importantly, knowing yourself. Is having a certain sense of self-understanding, self-awareness, self-concept, self-image, all of that positive elements of understanding yourself. And he says that's the only way you can acquire perfection. I've actually seen it in my teaching career, if you can call it that. Difference between, I teach boys mostly, so I'll say boys, difference between boys who have been honest with themselves and therefore grown versus those who are pretending to themselves and therefore kind of feign growth, but it doesn't last long term. And that's true of any discipline. You can't learn a new language if you pretend that you know it all already, right? With certain humility and in knowing new words and new vocab and new sentence, all of that. It's important. Yeah. Sorry, you're saying? No, I thought I had something. So the Maral's point is, you have to know yourself before you move on. So I think it's actually a slight outgrowth of self-purity. We talk about knowing that you're good inside. Like, this is actually knowing yourself. What do you respond to? What do you not respond to? What triggers you? What doesn't trigger you? Where you come from? Where you not come from? All those things are really, really important. And that's what Maral says. Again, the words are, do not be foolish in your self-knowledge. Nice? Okay. Right. On that note, the Cholas HaTalmidim of aforementioned fame says something equally beautiful. He says, it's common for people to sell themselves short. And I actually want to give you a halachic expression of this, if you don't mind. So, lo aleinu, there are various parts of the mourning process. For anyone who's been through it, I haven't, thank God, directly. But there is nebuch when the person passes away. There is, of course, the funeral, the levaya. Then you've got the shiva. Then you've got the shloshim in the year, etc. There are various kind of strata, or if you like, various phases and stages of that mourning process, grieving process. However, there is one crucial part within the levaya, in the funeral, which is the hesped, the eulogy. The eulogy is actually a very crucial part of the mourning process. It is a way, in part, of conferring merit if you do it well on the deceased. It's for the honor of the deceased. It's also, the Gemara talks about whether it's the honor of the relatives as well. And it has to be done right. The Gemara actually says that you can tell from the eulogy that someone is given, yeah, that's right, or delivered about them, whether they are a person of stature or not, whether they should get into the next world or not. If people are crying over them, if people are, that shows they're a person of stature. If people are kind of, let's say this in a gruff way, but happy to see them go, then that shows a very different type of person. Yeah? Okay. So that also means that part of the eulogy, and by the way, they used to be professional eulogizers, used to pay for someone. Yeah? That's the word, eulogizers, eulogy givers, whatever it is. And that also means that if someone does need to give a eulogy, you just have to be careful what's said. Meaning, it's all very nice to know a biographical sketch of when the person was born and where they lived, and their favorite ice cream flavor, etc. It's not really going to count for much. Certainly not their favorite ice cream flavor. You have to talk about who they really are, what they stood for, and their morals and values and mitzvahs. All that, we know that. Now, one of the very interesting halachas when it comes to giving a eulogy goes like this. Interesting. The person who's giving the eulogy is allowed to lie, Shulchan Aruch says, a little bit about the person who he is eulogizing. Isn't that interesting? He's allowed to be a little bit economical with the truth. Yeah?
Yeah, not unreasonable.
Yeah, I've heard that before somewhere, but yeah.
Let's be economical. Now, he can't be too economical with the truth, Otherwise, they'll call it the false economy. Yeah, inflation will go up. In other words, if let's say he was a bloke who never went to shul in his life or never put tefillin in his life, he cannot say, Frank, he was the minion man. Every single Tuesday morning, he was there with tefillin to make up the million. You can't. That's just a fake lie, right? What you can say is you can take them up a notch, right? In other words, you can say they were very generous, even if they were only mildly generous, right? I'm just giving examples from my own off the top of my own head. You can say they loved shul, they were committed to shul, even if their shul attendance was, let's say, not daily, something like that. Right?
I'm feeling better already.
Pardon?
I'm feeling better already.
I think we've got a long way until this happens. Yeah? You can say he loved his sukkah so much that he was willing to sit out there even 2.5 months beforehand. Yeah? You can all of that. You can say it. Now, the commentaries asked the following question, which is really interesting. I don't understand. Yeah? If you're allowed to lie, if let's say we waive the prohibition of lying for the sake of a eulogy, then waive it properly. If we don't waive the prohibition of lying, meaning you can't lie, then what does it mean you can exaggerate? You can lie a little bit. It's like saying, there's a point in time you can have a little bit of non-kosher food. A nibble, go for it. I understand. If you're not allowed to have it, you can't do it at all. If you are allowed to have it,
is there a difference? Is there a difference between lying by omission, by not saying what happened or what somebody was, as opposed to exaggerating or saying something different? So if you don't mention the fact that they didn't go to shul, that's different to say they did when they didn't, or that they kept certain mitzvot and they didn't, so you just don't talk about it. So is there something there that means lying by omission and not mentioning some of the less wonderful traits is better than making something up completely?
100%. Yes, I would say it certainly is. Although I think this halacha goes beyond that. It's not just lying by omission. You can lie by commission.
Yeah.
You can lie. You can actively lie. Right? You can lie through act. The question is why? What's this barometer of a bit, not a lot? How does that work? So there are two beautiful answers. I've forgotten one of them, so I'm only going to treat you to the other one. This answer was said once upon a time by a rabbi called Rabbi Avraham Palm. Yeah, Rabbi Avraham Palm, P-A-M. I joke because there was a time in America where there was a slight battle between Orthodox and Conservative. I imagine in some places where they quoted Rav Palm, Rav P-A-M, and they didn't know who Rabbi Avraham Palm was, and he was an amazing person, very well known. They probably thought never there was some female rabbi called Rav Pam. You know what I mean? Anyway, be that as it may, Rav Palm was a giant in America. He was, if you want just biographical stuff, he helped set up the Shuvu network of schools, which was when the Russians were finally allowed to leave when the Iron Curtain came down, etc. A lot of the Jews came to America, and they had no school network for them. They had no school network prepared to take them. And so he set up an entire network of schools called Shuvu, which was primarily for the Russian immigrant community. And it did amazing things, it really did. Anyway, Avraham Palm says like this. He says, the reason why you're allowed to lie a little bit, and not a lot, is very simple. It's human nature to underestimate other people. It's human nature to underestimate what other people achieved. The slight twinge on this, and now I remember the other one actually, is that you yourself, you would have been willing to push yourself a little bit more in life. And therefore it's not a lie. That's what you would have willingly done. You just didn't manage it. Right? But come back to the first, you're not lying when you eulogize someone at a notch higher than they are, because that probably was what they achieved. Again, you have to be careful in how and why, what. But that's probably what they did. That's probably where they were. You just underestimated them. Therefore, a small economical lie is tolerated, because it's not necessarily a lie. Like that?
Yeah.
I do like that.
Yeah, I think it's a very nice idea. The Chovos HaTalmidim, again aforementioned, says the same thing. He says it's common for people to sell themselves short, which I think is very much connected to the morale. Like this. There's Yisod Machalas Shneim Hi. is the root of those who ignore their bad traits or give up on fixing them is she'inam doshin from godless. They do not demand greatness from themselves. They think only big, great, righteous people need to improve on themselves. And actually, that's not true. Everyone cannot settle for kind of watching, the spectator sport form of Judaism. Someone else will do it, and I'll watch. Someone else will do it, and I'll sponsor the Kiddush, whatever it is, right? And someone else will do it, and I'll clap. Yeah, that's not a good thought. But everyone is expected, is a little harsh word, but everyone is let's use it, expected to push themselves in perfecting themselves and fixing up themselves, etc. But the point again I want to take out here is that the root of a lot of failure is failing to try. And the root of a lot of failure is is basically selling yourself short. I can't do it, I won't do it, it's not for me, all the same iterations of self-doubt. Again, Einan Darshin Godless, you do not, this person is not seeking greatness for themselves. Yeah, that's a problem. They settle for less. Now, ironically, you could have someone who in other areas of life definitely doesn't settle for less. Whether that's in their cars or houses or holidays and all those areas, they're not settling for less. And just in the real areas of life, namely self-improvement and working on themselves and self-betterment, there they are settling for less. Again, where that comes from, we don't need to analyze fully, but I think that's a point in and of itself. Right? So our keys so far tonight, we'll finish on a high, are number one, knowing yourself. Number two, keeping goals in mind. And number three, don't sell yourself short. There is a beautiful piece we're going to end off with. It's by Rav Avram ben Araman, as the Rambam's son. He's talking about the battle between body and soul. Now, we're very used to this. In other words, we know that there is a constant battle between body and soul. It's a well-worn phrase, or if you like, theme in the words of the rabbis and beyond. But he says a beautiful thing, and I think this is actually very appropriate for teachers. He says, we've mentioned the struggle between body and soul in the previous chapter. Here we shall complete it. The soul of mankind is created from the world of the heavenly, and spiritual. The body is from earthly material. The soul is tied up with the body in such a strong way that only Hashem can define, just like our soul's essence. In other words, that the body and soul they're close to each other. Well, they're mates, right? But they're intrinsically linked to each other in this world. Okay. Now, then he says, I should do it in the Hebrew, it's a little bit better. But anyway, by itself, the soul can yearn and focus on the world of the spiritual. And this is developed through delving into wisdom and enveloping itself and the soul with spirituality. But since the soul is so bound up with the body, it can remain rooted to this world. Okay, we're going to get to the point in a second. So in other words, you've got your soul and body, they're very different, but because the soul is schlepped along with the body, it doesn't always express itself in its yearnings and its real essence. This is a natural phenomenon. After all, the soul is rooted in the body and almost becomes one with it. As soon as a person's born, they cry over any small pain in the body, they delight in bodily pleasures, and spiritual yearnings are relegated to focusing on the physical world. And the more the body develops, the more this phenomenon continues and gets stronger. If a person, here we go, here's the line. If a person will find a way to develop their spiritual attachment through learning and self-development, strong attachment to the body weakens. No such development happens, the physical side wins out and material pursuits remain dominant. What does that mean basically? So it's like this. It's almost like a person, let's use the parable of a journey, whereby, or running actually is good. Every step that you take or every kilometer, whatever you cover, that isn't just, I put that in the past, it actually powers your next step. Yeah, that actually powers your next part of the journey. So you've got, he says, this battle between body and soul and self-definition, physical, spiritual, long-term, short-term, impulse versus long-term vision. And the soul is often pulled down by the body. But the more you can tap into that soul, then the more the soul can then be the anchor. In other words, the more the soul develops, the more the soul regulates the body as opposed to vice versa. What I think is so beautiful about this is it shows that experience and actually past success governs future achievements too. It's not a case of, okay, that battle between body and soul, I won that one. Yeah, I didn't eat the non-kosher food, whatever it was, right? This is something that the more that you work on it, the more that you do in previous parlance, the more you define greatness for yourself, the more you've, if you like, sharpened that guiding system. You know, the more that you have sharpened the wrong parable, the more you've polished it, the more you've worked it, the more it guides you because you've used it more. Right? That's the point of Ravam and Aramba. Okay? So let me summarize some of the keys we've done. I'm going to wish everyone a wonderful summer, please God. We've talked about knowing that you're pure. We talked about being consistent. We talked about the fact that you're nurturing the soul to overcome the body. We talked about knowing yourself very carefully. Don't sell yourself short. And of course, we talked about having your goals in mind. Those, I would argue, are keys or main keys to growth. It's Hashem. And those are things we need to hopefully work on. I know I'm going to say this early because rabbis do, dare I say, in the build up towards Rosh Hashanah. No, I said it, I'm sorry. I know. I didn't say Pesach though, so I did. In the build up towards Rosh Hashanah, look, please God, we shall have a good, healthy break. Please God, we'll save everyone back come September. Please God, we'll put the dates in the group at some point. It's Hashem. It's been a wonderful term. Been a wonderful
Thank you very
year.
much.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you, Rabbi.
please God, we will see you all.
Have safe
Thank you
flights
very much.
and enjoy your
Thank
holidays
you.
and wherever else you go.
Right.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Have a good summer.
Have a
See
great
you,
summer,
everyone.
guys.
Have a good one all.
Thank you,